You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
This week nearly killed us. We had to re-record it, and just thinking about that movie a second time was rough. We are starting the final themed month of this season, which is a Cartoons Come to Life month. It's appropriate that last month someone requested Inspector Gadget, because we were probably going to do it anyway. It was a good call. Anyway, thanks for all those who supported me over the past season as we truck through the end. We'll have stuff for you this summer, like always, and some might be, not traditional, but a summer break is a summer break, right? Anyway, with that in mind, I will be glad to hear from you guys in the fall. But for now, keep following us, Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd. Rate and review us. I haven't pushed that enough lately, but our iTunes ratings are super important. Listen to us on Spotify. Not many of you do that, and that's a really big place where people should be getting us, but they're not. So make sure you're subscribed there as well. If you want to see me live, I will be at Cineprov. This next month, they're doing Red Dawn, which is kind of a really fun, goofy little movie, starring, I guess, my favorite, Patrick Swayze, and it'll be a good show, so enjoy. Thanks, guys.
Do you like scary movies? Well, we do too.
That's why the Spooky Dudes are talking horror movies every single week.
We discuss the latest in horror news and review a different film in each episode.
We'll bring you our opinions on the classics, the new stuff, and a little bit of everything in between.
So if you enjoy horror movies and lighthearted fun discussions, check us out, the Spooky Dudes podcast, right here on the ESO Podcast Network.
Welcome to Maybe Defend Your Childhood. This week, we're talking Rocky and Bullwinkle to start off our animated cartoons come to life bullshit.
Don't they call it animation damnation on We Hate Movies?
Yeah, but this is different because we're not going to get sued. Also, we're talking about movies that are live action now. We're not talking about episodes of TV shows. I'm Nick Hoffman, so I hope you defend your childhood, Riffer on Cineprov, and Doctor. And Doctor of History, please don't.
Dr. Nick.
Yeah, and on panel we got
Noted author Matthew W. Quinn.
Noted?
I have a lot of Goodreads reviews.
Yeah, okay. So, Doctor's Note.
Hello, this is Daniel, and I'd rather be watching a Care Bears episode.
Oh, Care Bears care. This movie doesn't.
Come on, Rock. Don't you want to... Never mind.
I saw this in the theaters.
Oh, you
Oh,
poor thing.
no.
I saw it with my buddy Michael, and we were in the back row just yelling, "Moose and Squirrel!" whenever they came on screen.
Well, that's the only way to watch this damn movie.
It made it enjoyable.
Yeah. Jason Alexander and Rene Russo, right?
Yeah, and I kept thinking Rene Russo was the woman from Third Rock from the Sun, but she wasn't.
No, she was not.
And that's my Rene Russo story.
That's the only Rene Russo stories anybody's had in like 20 years. Although she was good in Nightcrawler, I shouldn't say that.
She was good in the Thomas Crown Affair, which is literally 20 years ago.
Oh, there you go.
Or this year, but I mean, what was she in? I mean, Major League, right?
She was in Get Shorty, I think.
Oh, she's so good in Get Shorty.
I think she's in one of the Lethal Weapon movies.
I think you're
a
right.
couple of them, maybe.
Yeah.
At least the latter two. But whatever, she's fine. She won a BAFTA for Nightcrawler, which is excellent, I think.
A BAFTA with Michael Caine.
BAFTA is just the British...
The British Academy of Film and Television Arts.
But for a second you sounded like...
Farts and Tea Awards. The British Academy of Farting Tea Awards.
But for a second you sounded like Michael Caine.
More cocaine.
You are stupid bastard.
Isn't she in Velvet Buzzsaw? I think she... I haven't seen Velvet Buzzsaw.
I haven't either.
All the excuses to avoid talking about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
What the hell is wrong with you?
That accent wibble-wobbled away from you.
Did you eat an English orphan or something? What was that about?
He's coughing up a tuppence, he is. So, let's talk about this.
Do we need to?
We have to. We're here. The movie starts in the animated world of 1964. The Beatles were a thing.
From what I remember, and fucking hell, I'm not my grandfather, so I don't remember anything about Rocky and Bullwinkle. This was considered like a subversive adult cartoon where kids liked it because it was a cartoon on TV, but adults liked it because it actually had some pretty subversive humor about society in it.
Well, I mean, and the whole thing, it's set up. It's not well done, but it's set up kind of like, how do I put this? It has SNL-ish kind of bits to it because there's like standard segments, but they're weird, like the Fractured Fairy Tales, for example.
Well, this cartoon is why every Simpson has the J as the middle initial.
Yes, and there's other little bits to it too, of course, right? Like Bullwinkle and Rocky, in some ways, are the least interesting part of the show, right? Because this is also where you get Mr. Peabody and Sherman.
Oh, the superior cartoon characters in this show.
It's just that they work. Here they keep trying to do a continuing serialization of nothing.
They technically were the first non-Brazilian people to go back in time.
Quiet, you. But we also had... Was this also Dudley Do-Right? It's the same animation.
Yeah,
No,
Dudley
it's the
Do-Right,
same
I'm
people
pretty
in
sure.
George of the Jungle. I think that was all Jay Ward stuff.
And this is the kind of thing where Hanna-Barbera said, we could only be better. Right? Because it was the cheapest animation. And this is 64, so the Beatles existed, but they weren't a big deal. I mean...
They were a big deal.
Here's the thing.
And did they have rich mahogany? Wow. I made an Anchorman joke there. Damn.
Ah, lovely.
I will say the whole thing about the beginning... We're even this close to making like a Kennedy assassination joke. They're trying to figure out why the show's being canceled and people aren't watching it. And like effectively like the forest gets cut down.
Oh, the whole thing is that Rocky and Bullwinkle are obsessed with saving the forest that they live in that's slowly being cut down, and the whole way they get in the real world is by just walking into it to find the president.
And somehow FBI agent Karen's sympathy gets into the Statue of Liberty and there's a TV or something.
So
Oh yeah, Piper Pierre Bobo that
Piper Perabo, whose career began and ended with this movie, pretty much.
well, she was in Coyote Ugly, if I recall correctly.
Was she the coyote or the ugly?
Was
She was
dan-
not the ugly. Let me put it that way.
Was she dancing on the bar with Moose and Squirrel? That would have been a hoot.
Where's the? This is stupid. Isn't the? Where's the real? The original Coyote Ugly? I've been there. Coyote Ugly. Anyway, there's a place called Coyote Ugly, which is a real place, which this was based on before they hired Tara. Was it Tara Reid?
Tara Reid, yeah, she was in that movie.
Whatever. And it's such a small little place. It's funny. It's like, oh, it's in New York City. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very small little place. So it's funny the idea that like you'd have these big parties in a place that's
All right,
small.
this is going to be my one obscure joke of the episode. Would you say that it's just a little pretty pissant country place?
I hate you so much. Right
I'm
now.
sure you do.
Well, I don't get it, so okay.
Like I said, that's my obscure joke of the episode.
Well, I mean, you've been to my Cineprov show, so I'll make a joke just for you. And I didn't mean Tara Reid. I meant Tyra Banks. Tyra Banks.
Wait, Tara Reid wasn't in Coyote Ugly?
No, Tyra Banks is, along with John Goodman, because John Goodman.
Oh, I remember John Goodman.
John Goodman will be in your movie.
Will he dance on the bar?
He did. He did.
And I don't know. I've seen less sexy things in my life. Anyway, so let me just give you the plot. I can do this one. This is my suggestion, and it was a good suggestion. It's a terrible movie. Essentially, when the show is canceled in 1964, we get a montage of what's happened, including that the wall falls, and so the evil country of Pennsylvania is no longer communist. So fearless leader Boris and Natasha escape, and they're now trying to punish Moose and Squirrel, right?
For reasons.
For reasons. The way they get through... Oh, by the way, we haven't talked about this, but this cast is incredible for how bad this movie is. It suffers from Casper syndrome, where apparently everyone was like, oh, I remember that show. I'll be in your movie. It's even produced by Robert DeNiro.
You're right.
Bobby,
And he's fearless leader.
and he's fearless leader. And Jason Alexander from Seinfeld, and only Seinfeld,
And Shallow Hal. Let's
And
not forget Shallow Hal.
What was that show he did where he was a psychiatrist, or he was a motivational speaker? After Seinfeld was canceled, he had a whole bunch of like sitcoms that
I have
lasted
no
2
idea.
episodes. Kramer, Michael Richards was a private eye for like an episode of the show. This is why the internet exists. We were talking about bootlegging like music and hackers, but it's the only way you can see Muppets Tonight anymore. I mean, right?
With Prince and Muppets Tonight.
Sure it was. What a terrible thing to happen. So back to yelling moose and squirrel at a screen. Essentially,
Gian Garofalo, if I recall correctly, is the one who like signs an exclusive contract with them, and this contract brings them into the real world as part of the writer.
Yeah, and literally pulls them through a TV screen. And that's when they come to life. And this is when we get introduced to Karen Sympathy, who is described in this oddly pervy article as the warm-hearted and beautiful FBI agent Karen Sympathy.
What are you reading right now?
I'm reading the Wikipedia.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. And then her superior, isn't it played by Independence Day? Randy Quaid.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Happy Von Trappment, if I recall correctly.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, I remember this movie
Wow,
actually.
so many bad pun names.
Everything is a pun. Because, like, that's what Rocky and Bullwinkle's, like, kind of back and forth
Yeah.
is.
You know, if everything was a pun, I would have probably found this movie funny, but I didn't.
If Matt didn't find this movie funny, that's saying something.
Well, he did write a 350-page fan fiction script, which really gets into the functioning of...
The Erotic Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Why, Daniel, if you pay me enough, I'll write that for you.
Oh, man. Oh, no, Rocky, my tunic fell off.
I had no idea it was that big.
I just choked on my whiskey. Hey, Rock, you want to see something come out of my head?
Again.
Gross. Anyway, so we even have a narrator which comes through, which is kind of a joke. In order to fight Boris and Natasha and Fearless Leader, Fearless Sympathy has to go to Hollywood and break into, like Matt alluded to, a Statue of Liberty-esque thing where she literally turns on the green lighting the project and pulling...
Stop laughing.
How were you laughing?
Stop
when I
laughing.
explained it, but not when you saw it?
I don't know.
I mean,
You're
whatever.
just funnier, Nick. You were funnier than the screenwriters of this movie.
Funniest comedy show.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but after that, it's just a montage. I mean, it becomes a road movie, right? Like, and that's even a joke, right? Well, you know, we could fly across the country in 10 minutes, or in, a couple hours. He goes, yes, but if we don't drive, it's not a road trip comedy. And you're just like, that's the joke? All right. And they have a flat at one point. They get picked up by Keenan and Kel.
And they have a cops rip-off scene where everyone's face gets blurred out.
They even get the joke because they're on the way to Wasamata U.
That's where Keenan and Kel are from, or they're students there, and that's the whole joke because that's Rocky's alma mater.
Bullwinkle's.
Bullwinkle's
alma mater.
Yes.
Well, he was captain of the football team.
Where somehow he was able to actually attend college despite being stupid.
Jesus Christ, Rocky, that Bullwinkle, that was 20 years ago. You peaked in fucking college, Rocky Bullwinkle.
And Keenan goes, yeah, they desegregated and started allowing non-animated people in the school 20 years ago. And that was an honest laugh. I was like,
Well, it was
black
always
guys explaining desegregation of animated characters.
Well, it was always a progressive school, Rocky.
And they were going to give him an honorary Mooster's degree.
That's the level of humor we're at with this movie.
And I was fine with it.
Well,
I bought this movie, guys. I love it. I loved it. I thought it was funny.
So you're a masochist, Nick? Is that it?
I don't know what this voice is. It's the best, Matt.
I'm trying to do Bullwinkle.
You need to file that one away because that needs to come back.
I'm Bullwinkle, damn it!
You're Schmolbinkle, his cousin.
The non-union Mexican equivalent?
that was good. That was
Or being a moose, you mean non-union Canadian equivalent?
Oh boy.
Oh, that's so funny. Hey, Shmoo, what you doing?
Stealing your gerbs.
all right.
We've been recording a long time. All right.
Jesus. Okay, what's the plot of this?
So at this point, after greenlighting the film, he comes through. Fearless Leader's been told that Rocky and Bullwinkle are back.
Oh, do you
and
want
they
to get into the most offensive scene in this movie?
I don't know, Rocky.
Well, I'm going to tell you anyway, Bullwinkle, because otherwise you're never going to learn.
Go ahead. I was just going to talk about CDI.
Well, I was going to talk about the scene. Robert De Niro not only produced this movie, but he's in the movie as Fearless Leader, right?
Right.
So there's that scene where he's talking to, I think, the network head, and Gian Garofalo says something, and then Fearless Leader just starts going, "Are you talking to me?"
Oh, God.
I was angry.
Is that the Tom Servo rule again?
Yes,
The
basically.
difference is he delivered those lines.
He delivered the lines, he produced the movie, so he was totally on board with it.
He's like, you know what this needs? A callback to my dignity.
A callback to when I think he won the Best Actor award at the Cannes Film Festival.
What's this thing called dignity, Rock?
Well, it's the thing you've never had, Bullwinkle.
Okay.
I have nipples. Could you milk me?
That's going in my erotic adventures.
That's a Robert De Niro line from what killed his career effectively.
Meet
I
the
like
parents.
Meet the Parents.
I do, but now that's the only role he gets. That's why
yeah.
it killed his career. It's that
Well,
that
'cause
was good.
He was old at that point. I mean, what else is he going to do?
But he's now done 10 movies that are like that, where he's just in a mild comedy where he's
He
the
was good in
asshole.
Silver Linings Playbook.
I guess that is afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's probably the last thing he was really good in.
He got nominated for an Oscar for that, if I recall
What
correctly.
was the one he was in? Like, there's a movie, not the one he did in the '90s, which is King of Comedy, but there's one recently called The Comedian that he was in, which is
He's going to be in the Joker movie.
you know who he'd be good as? One of the old mafia bosses.
He is. He's in the trailer. That scene where the Joker comes out from behind that Johnny Carson curtain late night talk show. He's the talk show host.
So he is literally doing his King of Comedy.
Yeah,
bit,
basically.
Oh, that's a shame. I mean, I want that movie to be good. I want Joaquin Phoenix in it to be good. It looks good. I'll take it as is. It looks like that Joker comic by what's his name, Lachuzio.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The one that's just called The Joker.
Yeah.
I hope that's what it is. I hope it's a one-off. I hope DC doesn't try to tie anything into the universe anymore ever again. Ever again.
No post-credit scenes?
No, I hope not. Because Aquaman was great. Teen Titans Go was great. Wonder Woman was great. They don't need to be tied together in any way. Don't do it.
Darn it.
Rocky or Bullwinkle, you're not going to be in the DCU, man.
I want to be in Teen Titans Go.
Go, Teen Titans, go. You could be the moose. No, you'd have to have a disguise. I'll be the elk.
That was actually.
And I'll have my own club for community service.
Oh, gross.
Not that kind of community service, a pervert.
You're so hard right there, non-union equivalent Bullwinkle.
Schmollwinkle.
Bite me, Rock.
Schmollwinkle.
I've already done that, Bullwinkle. It didn't taste too good.
Don't get into their weird Bert and Ernie relationship. It's not good. Not going to work.
I know, Rocky, because it's on the tape. It's on the internet.
Oh, God.
We're just doing impersonations because there's literally nothing to this movie. It was just a bunch of nostalgic boomers.
So some plot involving Karen's sympathy finding her inner child or something?
Well, the whole thing was that she was a big fan of Rocky and Bullwinkle when she was a kid, and her parents discouraged it or something.
Yeah.
And this whole movie is don't meet your idols because they're all
Basically.
stupid.
I mean, yeah. Dragon Con's the worst. No, I mean, but that's
Adrian Pastar was a cool dude.
Adrian Pastor. Chris Lloyd was cool.
He was.
Now he's dead.
No, he's not.
It's not.
He will live forever in our hearts.
He's doing like community theater somewhere in New Hampshire, wherever he
I
lives.
got a signed
Connecticut.
picture of Judge Doom from Christopher Lloyd, and I'm happy.
No kidding. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I mostly hang out with writers. They're more accessible.
Sure.
Because no one knows what they look like.
No, that's a cool thing. But well, the thing about this movie is that style of humor was so dated by this point because it had graduated into The Simpsons and Adult Swim. I think got launched 2 years later, and that was the sort of style of humor too. But
well, I mean, the thing is, it revels in the self-aware. I almost think it probably holds up better now than it did at the time because now we're so steeped in the sarcastic, self-aware humor. Like at one point, Keenan and Kel at Wasamata U goes, I can't believe you guys were on television. Him and I want to be on TV one day. We just hope we're not canceled in 4 seasons.
Something like that.
And it's literally
they were canceled that year.
That year, like literally that time, they were. I mean, it's 90. It came out in 2000. So Keenan must have been about to audition for SNL, right? Because Kenan Thompson has been on SNL for what, 15 years, something crazy like that.
Not quite that long, but he's been on for a good long while.
But I mean, I will say Keenan and Kel, despite the fact that they're ridiculous, are a breath of fresh air in this movie because they have comedic timing. Keenan, you could put in, hell, he's in that Fat Albert movie, which is unwatchable.
At least he didn't try to take Rocky and Bullwinkle and make them into Good Burgers.
We did that.
Oh boy.
He was on. He's been on SNL since 2008.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Ooh boy, that is a while.
He's a funny guy, and again, that Fat Albert movie is bad. It's nothing good about it.
Here's the weirdest.
Is Bill Cosby in it?
Yes, he is.
He produced it, and he's voicing it. Yeah.
Oh.
Here's the weirdest thing about Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Sorry, 2003.
He's been on SNL since 2003.
Yeah, 16 years. He's the longest running cast member ever.
Really?
Yeah, he's the best.
More than Tim Meadows? Oh, good lord. Here's the weirdest thing about this movie, which is everybody mined Rocky and Bullwinkle just forever because it was a very influential thing, especially to baby boomers. One of the biggest people who mined this movie was Joel Hodgson because he literally based MST3K off of a sketch in Rocky and Bullwinkle where they would show clips from old silent movies and redub dialogue over it, which is great. The thing that this movie does is they turn the main villain's plot to buy a TV station and just show the worst programming possible in order to hypnotize the populace into watching it and just becoming brain dead and accepting Fearless Leader as the new leader of the United States. That's just terrible. Why?
Commentary on reality TV?
Well, no, except Joel Hodgson and MST3K did that like 11 years before this movie came out.
I mean, I only seen like bits and bobs of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I can't really comment intelligently.
What? No. Bips and bobs?
It's literally my comedy show.
I don't know if I've seen a whole one all the way through.
Are you kidding?
Oh no.
Did you not have Comedy Central growing up? That's all that
or
was
the
on.
Sci-Fi Channel?
I do remember that's where I did see the bits and bobs of it. I just was not really that interested in it.
Oh, that's fucking sacrilege.
That's sad.
I'm gonna slice you.
Don't cut me, Rock, please.
Oh.
Give me my money. You owe me money. Give me my money.
I'm not your hoe, Rocky.
Gross. That was a gross thing you just said.
Oh, Jesus.
He came off as kind of like a pimp demanding money.
I got that. That doesn't make it not gross.
Well, I mean, though, at this point, though, it was referencing everything that had referenced Rocky and Bullwinkle before it. I mean, the freshest things at the time were still The Simpsons and MST3K, which were based on Rocky and Bullwinkle. So,
yeah, I mean,
what's the point of this movie?
But what
nostalgia, Rock.
You're right. I'm not going to argue with you. I just wish they had had better writers. You could have made something more out of this. I mean, you already have the idea that they're in the real world. Run with it. It's a really funny idea to have these kind of Borscht Belt comedians who are out of date be in the real world. Just commit to it.
Yeah, a anthropomorphic moose that's talking and a flying squirrel that can actually fly.
By the way,
around.
If this is the real world, then where does What's the Matter You come from?
Maybe it's a small school somewhere.
you're pointing your finger to the problem, right? What it should have been is they think it's Wasamata-U, but WU is just like Washington University. So he shows up at WU thinking it's Wasamata-U, and it's just Wash State or something. And they're shocked by the fact that there's a cartoon walking around.
Yeah.
Which is a thing that they drop in 5 minutes, but people should be honestly losing their shit that there's a cartoon man walking around.
The only person
Well, if it's in the West Coast, maybe they think that's perfectly normal.
The only person who reacts in the way you'd expect them to react is Whoopi Goldberg as the judge.
Holy shit, it's Rocky and Bullwinkle. If she had said shit, better movie. That's the one time to use your F-bomb to keep the PG-13 rating.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Rocky and Bullwinkle. Done. You
And
win.
celebrities can't commit crimes, so what were they arrested for? Grand Theft Auto?
They were rolling with Tea and Sympathy, not Tea and Sympathy, Karen, whatever her name is. And Fearless Leader like hacks the FBI to frame her for stealing a car.
Were you dropping a sick rhyme? Riding with Tea and Sympathy?
Do you so
riding clean?
So in other words, Rocky and Bullwinkle were caught riding dirty?
Oh,
I once came up with a song about illegally using apartment complexes grills. You know, they see me cooking, they hate and patrolling.
It's like when you told me you were going to write a script for Michael Bloomberg about the Lonely Island song, I Run New York.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God.
Catch me grilling dirty.
Oh, gross. Kenan Thompson has not stopped working ever.
Good for him.
I have his thing pulled up. By the way, speaking of, not 6 months ago, we still had DirecTV. They've rebooted one of my favorite shows as a kid, which is Family Double Dare.
Really?
Mark Summers?
Mark Summers is still there. He's the announcer. He doesn't host it, but he's there on set. But Keenan and his son and Kel and his daughter were on it against each other as the two families competing. Man. And Candace and I just watched the whole thing, smiling the whole time.
I remember when it was the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon who did a Good Burger sketch, and it was Kel as Ed, and then Keenan showed up as Lester Oates, construction worker.
Oh, like they got the sketches wrong?
No, that was like the thing that they did back in the day.
Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Now listen here. I'm here to order a burger.
That's the one. You know, it'd be great if they did a thing like I don't like Austin Powers 3. I think it's not good. But the best part of it is when they go to the movie premiere at the end, and Tom Cruise is Austin, and Danny DeVito is Mini-Me, and Kevin Spacey. But like if they did that and Keanu Reeves was doing Kel, like welcome to Good Burger, or
I know burger foo.
Yeah, right. I mean, because you'd need almost someone to be doing Moon Tower or something to do it, but otherwise it's just Bill.
Yeah.
It's Moon Tower or Bill, right? Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
I thought Keanu was Ted.
Oh, you're right. He is Ted. Could you be at all interested in that Bill and Ted 3?
No.
We'll see.
But we're gonna see it together, aren't we?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, meh. But I'll be there. I'm not happy about it, but I'll be there.
Well, I guess I better go out of obligation.
Well, you know, their movie came out pretty close to ours, and they didn't invite us to the premiere, but I saw it, and it was pretty sweet.
Well, they didn't invite us because you were in rehab at the time, Bullwinkle.
I was chasing the horse as a moose.
I told you that's not a horse. That's the heroin you inject into your veins.
Well, the dragon was telling me to keep going.
That's not a real dragon.
Hey, man, you're the one who's getting high all the time. Now that you learned how to fly again, you bitch. We don't want to talk about this movie, but we should finish it up.
Jesus.
But we could keep doing these voices because that's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah. That's the only really fun part of this movie is the voices. Who did the voices in this? Was it the original people?
June Foray was still alive. I doubt anyone else was. Let's see. Yeah, June Foray was still Rocky. Keith Scott was Bullwinkle, and he did a fine job.
He did fine.
Yep.
I'm surprised they didn't get Dave Coulier because he used to do Bullwinkle in his stand-up all the time.
How much of a slap in the face was that? Because Dave Coulier was fine, and you can't tell. You want to take a stab at how much money this cost to make?
$50 million.
$50 million?
$76 million.
Was half of that just Robert De Niro's salary as some sort of money laundering thing?
It had to be, because this movie didn't make 36.
No.
I was there, Rock. All that money was going to cocaine.
I was going to say, you went up my nose.
And in my antlers, too.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, everyone is in this. We haven't even gotten into it, but, like, Jonathan Winters is in 3 different parts in this.
The musician?
Jonathan Winters? No, the comedian.
Oh, okay.
He's the chopper pilot. He's the Ohio cop with a bullhorn. He plays Old Jeb, the guy who sells him a plane.
John Goodman's in this as one of the highway officers.
Yeah, he's the state trooper in Oklahoma, I think. And he goes, no, I'm here to save the day. This is Rocky and Bullwinkle. And he goes, yeah, and I'm John Goodman.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
That is the joke.
There's the joke.
This came out...
Bad Moose, what you gonna do? They make a bunch of cop jokes in this one, too.
This came out the same year that Oh Brother, Where Art Thou came out.
Masterpiece.
Definite masterpiece. And John Goodman's in that as the Cyclops.
Well, and we're not even halfway through it. Paget Brewster's in this as a spy. And you said Janine Garofalo. Carl Reiner's in this as the director. PG Big Shot.
Randy Quaid, we mentioned him.
And then James Rebhorn is President's sign-off. David Alan Greer's in this. Miguel Ferrer's in this.
I remember David Alan Greer, yeah.
I mean, Miguel Ferrer never got his due. I think he died, didn't he?
Wasn't he the Emperor in Dune?
No. He was... I don't believe he was the Emperor in Dune. He's been in other David Lynch stuff. He was Albert in Twin Peaks.
I'll see. But
he was the guy who built RoboCop and RoboCop.
He's the guy in Hot Shots Part 2 who's the insider.
War. It's fantastic.
He plays Lloyd in the Stand miniseries, which is up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
But
I remember
he was in Traffic as the informant that gets murdered in the car bomb.
Yeah. He died a couple years ago, but he was one of my favorite character actors of all time.
No, he died right before the new Twin Peaks season came out, and that was his last thing.
That's a shame. I think he's in a Star Trek movie, too. I think he's in Search for Spock.
Why is that a shame?
That he's dead?
Oh, that he's dead. Okay, I was saying the Twin Peaks being the last thing.
Well, no, I think literally the last thing he was in was a Teen Titans movie, but he played Slade. The other shame is that later this month, we see him again in a movie.
Ooh, yes.
Opposite Leslie Nielsen.
Yes, we do.
Ooh. I mean, that's the thing. Like, Bryan Cranston, I love. He's in a lot of garbage, but him, Samuel L. Jackson, they treat acting like it's a job. And so they'll show up, they'll do your movie, and they fucking act every single time.
They will do your movie if they have the time for it and if they pay what you want them to pay.
And it's the reason why I hate Bruce Willis, because they throw movie roles at him and he doesn't care. He doesn't act. He doesn't show up to do them. Every time Ferrer, because we're talking about him, but Samuel L. Jackson, every time Bryan Cranston, they're in a movie, they act their ass off. Melissa McCarthy.
Willem Dafoe's the same way.
Dafoe. You want him to flirt with your dog? He'll flirt with your dog in that movie, and you'll believe it and be kind of aroused.
I don't know if that's natural, Rock.
If you did the rest of next season as Bullwinkle, better podcast.
Well, sure, if I can remember how to do this voice.
It comes and goes. Anyway.
Well, stick with me and I'll help you through it.
I'm coming down, Rock. I'm coming down.
Give me more heroin, Rock.
Anyway, so they get it. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Fearless Leader gives them a technology called CDI, which can erase characters because someone saw Roger Rabbit. And at this point, there's a chase between...
Mm-hmm. Well, again, the whole thing is them hypnotizing people through TV, so it's up to Coyote Ugly Woman, which I'm not
Piper Perabo.
Yeah.
Karen Sympathy.
Sure, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her name. And Rocky and Bullwinkle to stop them, and they get erased in the end by that technology you're talking about. Not Rocky and Bullwinkle, but a Fearless Leader and...
They get
Boris
sent
and
into the
Natasha.
internet somehow.
Yeah. Well, Bullwinkle does in order to get to the TV station.
They send him an email.
We just talked about hackers. This might be better than hackers, but not much. But he's literally at one point surfing on an envelope icon on the internet. It's literally, they email him.
Yeah.
Crazy Randy Quaid takes the back of a room, shoves him into a disk drive, and he emails himself to Rocky.
Maybe would he be a GIF then? I mean, he'd be a pretty big file. He'd be a pretty big file attachment. He'd be a pretty big file attachment, I would think. You're being animated and all.
In 2000?
Yeah, that. Jesus.
The DSL would drop halfway through, and he'd be turned into scrambled pornography.
He'd be cut in half, like pop out of the computer without his legs.
Actually, you know what would have been the better gag? If he went to 2 dimensions. He comes out of the printer and he's just flat, because it's CGI. Flatten him out. That would have been a funny gag.
That entire movie would have been better if they were 2D characters
if it
just
turned into Epic Mickey or something for a second. But I mean, like, it'd be funny too if Rocky was back in 3D and Bullwinkle turned 2D, because then they pull a gun, they try to shoot him, and he just turns sideways and he's flat, so the bullets go past him. That's a good gag. Or one hits him and they just put it back together with tape, with scotch tape.
Well, this would have been in the 2000s, so the temptation to do a Matrix joke would have been too much.
He rolls up.
Oh.
No, it would have just been a bullet time bit where he turns to the side slowly and...
Back to a hacker's reference, he throws weapons and the weapons are just AOL CDs. He just... Thum, 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 thum. Hey, that might have just tickled me, but f*** you, that was funny. Anyway...
Well, Rock, you can fly. You can drop these things from a sufficient enough height and punch through their skulls.
So let's get through this. After establishing that they're trying to kill Rocky and Bullwinkle with CDI, and they get the Mooster's degree and all that shit, they get arrested, and we're introduced to Whoopi Goldberg as Judge Cameo, because of course we are.
And celebrities can't commit crimes.
But
we're recording this
to jail.
We're recording this the same week the Mueller report came out, so there you go.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Piper Perabo has to use her feminine wiles on a semi-retarded Norwegian cop named Olaf.
A Swedish judge named Oli, because this is his non-Mexican equivalent.
Okay.
Would you like to see a movie? What if we were holding hands during the movie? How do we eat the popcorn?
Oh, Jesus, I'd forgotten about him.
And he goes... Well, we could hold hands sometimes and then eat popcorn other times, but I've never been on a date before. Well, then I will teach you how the popcorn trick works. Moving on.
Isn't he supposed to teach her how the popcorn trick works?
This is where the ghost scene comes in, where her hand reaches around and... Yeah.
Oh, my girl, my darling...
That was saucy. Anyway, Bullwinkle inadvertently, essentially calls out sympathy on the witness stand. That's why she ends up in jail, which is...
Right.
It's all nothing. Like, and they get a biplane from old Jeb, which is the third time we see him.
This woman was the real killer. She was the one in the white Bronco.
Howie... It turned into Kermit. It's going to happen. Howie would have done it if I did it.
Well, we all know you did it, Bullwinkle.
This was my mooster plan.
I was gonna choke the bitch.
Oh, good lord.
She started talking shit, and wouldn't you know, I reached back like a pimp and I slapped the hoe.
Ain't nothing but a gangster party.
I come from the streets of what's the matter, you? Anyway, so they end up...
Frostbite Falls is ghetto, yo.
I think they're supposed to be in New York, and Bullwinkle flies to D.C., which is where... Because he's like, I didn't know they moved the White House to New York City.
Oh, yeah.
Which is something that happens.
Well, the whole thing is, at a certain point, the fearless leader turns the dumb TV broadcast on, while Bullwinkle's in the White House and everyone's watching it and hypnotized, but it doesn't work on Bullwinkle because he's already so stupid.
Which is the gag that they sit back on and they just let you drink in the laughs, and you're just like, you could see that coming from across the room, man. Although the best part of the gag is Randy Quaid comes in as the Secret Service agent with like blinders on, earbuds on, and a shotgun, and he's just like, "Come with me, Mr. Moose," and you're just like, "Oh, this is a better movie."
Come with you if I want to live. Okay.
Come with me if you want to live.
Well, Bullwinkle's already a big fan of The Bachelor, so this is just completely normal for him.
I mean, I will say you're right, and you're frustrated if you're Joel Hudson because you deserve credit, but you forget if you don't know that how much they're hitting the nail on the head because it's RBTV. It's really bad television, RBTV, and it opens up like the fucking MST3K old logo did. Yeah. With the jaggedy bits, like if it were
the door sequence, you mean? Yeah,
and like that's what it is. It's all bad.
No, the worst gag revolved around that was obviously the bad guys lose, right? They get deleted, and really bad television becomes Rocky and Bullwinkle television, and then after hearing
what's the difference?
Yeah, which is like, F you, movie.
Yeah,
you have not earned the right to make that joke.
But I will say, I laughed. It wasn't, that one was not as big of an honest laugh, but that's what Rocky's and Bullwinkle's gags always were. That was possibly the most Bullwinkle gag of the movie.
Probably, but the cartoon at least earned it.
You're right. This movie, every step of the way, they know the show. They just haven't earned any of it. Anyway, I think that's it. We've talked about this movie.
Well, like, I mean, the cartoon would be like,
have you ever read Gabriel Garcia Marquez's 100 Years of Solitude?
Well, what happened after year 80? Mm-hmm. Wasn't that enough years of solitude?
Well, I read the Cliff's Notes and I failed the test. Like,
We're at least trying to be intelligent here, Bullwinkle.
I was trying to think of, like, on Saturday Night Live. I mean, this is
live from Frostbite Falls. It's Saturday night.
Oh, that's funny.
That was actually pretty good.
That was good. And then we have, like this week's host, Bullwinkle. Have you read the Mueller report? Me neither. I haven't used up that much black ink since, line. What does that say? Well... What's the matter, you? Like,
I just joined the 5-Timers Club tonight, ladies and gentlemen. That's because I have officially slapped Kenan Thompson 5 times.
That would be the one, isn't it?
Because, Rocky the Flying Squirrel is going to slap a bitch.
Oh, guys, we need to wrap this one up. This movie, the thing is, this is a better for talking about than talking to, because this movie, nothing happened.
Oh, my, well, I'm
earnest.
so surprised that this cost $76 million.
It was the full CGI Rocky and Bullwinkle, man. It had to be.
But it looks so terrible in retrospect. Like, not just the concept, but the animation.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Well, that's the thing about CGI. You watch The Thing with all the practical effects and it still looks creepy. You watch this and it's like, really? This is like 10 minutes on Microsoft Paint.
Yeah. Final judgments, Mr. Quinn.
All right. It's like a throwback to the 50s and 60s it was made. It's so very earnest, but it's, for the most part, not very funny. I just wouldn't bother with it. I mean, I've had a lot more fun being transgressive and vile in my Bullwinkle voice than I had watching this movie.
Yeah.
Dave Coulier has got some great transgressive and vile sayings in his Bullwinkle voice, so check that out. It's more fun than this movie. I mean, this movie is trash because it's just so dated and it doesn't try to be subversive like the original cartoon was, which... I mean, might seem dated to people now, but back in the 60s, that was pretty groundbreaking, and they should have respected that instead of trying to rip off all the stuff that came afterwards in Rocky and Bullwinkle's shadow.
Well, I mean, it would have been funny if they went all the way. Like, do a little bit more Naked Gunny kind of thing, where, like, this was 2000, it was about the trees. Do an Al Gore joke. They get the trees back at the end somehow. I mean, they're animated, and they make that joke. We just had to redraw them, or whatever it is. But, like, there should have been a Clinton joke. There should have been anything. Make it mildly topical. It wouldn't have aged well as far as the jokes go, but it could have at least been something. This movie is just such a wet noodle.
Well, in the Beavis and Butthead movie, Bill Clinton shows up, and that still is funny.
Right.
Is that a Stay Tuned?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely something. I mean, we did a Beavis and Butthead episode when we did the animation sequence for Myopia Mornings. I would love to actually do it for the real show, but we'll see. I mean, next season's going to be different, and we'll talk to you at the end because... like an ADD boy, like I am, I can't focus on, hey, kittens. But anyway, I would say I like this movie more than the other two. Nostalgia Critic loved it for some reason. I don't know if I'd go as far as he did, but if you like the plays on words that this show is, they actually do a pretty good job of doing it. It's just that in those of a 24-minute episode, 25-minute episode, it's barely 7 minutes because there's also Rocky and Bullwinkle, or Peabody and Sherman. There's a Fractured Fairy Tale. There's a lot of subsections, and Rocky and
What
Bullwinkle...
happened to us, Kodos?
Quit, you. But, like, this is just only them. The best parts are the cameos, and the cameos are garbage. However... stay tuned, guys, because this might be the high water mark. Because next week, as I kind of alluded to, we're watching Mr. Magoo with Leslie Nielsen. Because I saw that one when I was young, and apparently, as a Catholic, I like punishment. So stay tuned next week and every future week when we put a piece of your past on trial. Thanks, guys. Myopia Defend Your Childhood is produced by Do Better Podcasting and a member of the ESO Network. It is hosted by Nick Hoffman, edited by Daniel Suddis, and Ann Burns. It is produced by Daniel Suddis, Matthew Quinn, and Ann Burns. Thomas Herman is our consultant. Nick Hoffman is our executive producer. The theme song is Surf Shimmy by Kevin MacLeod. Find it at incompetech.com. It is licensed under the Creative Commons license. Thanks.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping through Amazon.com or the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.